Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
The star, Rachel Zegler, is unbelievably charmless in public.
She was, as woke as they are.
She just sounds bitter and angry.
I don't think they're going to buy it. I don't think they're going to watch it. I don't think they're going to like it.
Every time she speaks, she gets less likable.
This truly is the worst casting, maybe, in the history of the film industry.
Rachel Zegler, she's an asshole.
You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up.
Spend 1 minute on Snow White and how it totally imploded at the box office this weekend.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
And, you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
If Disney wants to make more woke films that tank at the box office, they are more than welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea.
A few lessons for Disney. Number one, stop cannibalizing all your old IP. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad business. Number two, please stop changing all of the historic plots, which actually have meaning to generations of people, to instead become generic woke story about how woman leads revolutionary uprising and she don't need no man.
What if one sassy starlet managed to wreck a Disney classic before it even hit the big screen? That's exactly what went down with the live-action Snow White, a film that was hyped to be Disney's next billion-dollar crown jewel. Big budget, legendary story, guaranteed blockbuster, or so they thought. Instead, it turned into an embarrassing flop, and Rachel Zegler's right at the center of the storm. This wasn't just another box office disappointment, it was a full-blown mess, fueled by a lead actress who rubbed fans the wrong way from the jump.
And to constantly say things that are like just atrocious because they're looking for attention and they can never have enough of it. They can never have enough of it.
Folks weren't just annoyed, they were furious. From the moment Zegler started bashing the original animated version and throwing shade in interviews, it was clear she wasn't here to honor the legacy. She was here to rewrite the whole thing with an attitude that screamed, "I know better, let's break it down." Disney thought they'd cast their dream princess. She could sing, she had the fresh-faced look, and she even had a Golden Globe under her belt. But the second they dropped her name, the internet went nuclear. Fans weren't just skeptical, they were outraged. "Snow White is supposed to be pale as snow," exploded one viral comment. That one sentence set the tone for a never-ending online war.
And accusing Disney of inserting unnecessary feminism into classic fairy tales.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
And just like that, the fairy tale was over before it began. Instead of spreading Disney magic, Zegler sparked chaos. People expected sweet, humble royalty, but what they got felt more like a lecture. You didn't need a crystal ball to see this one coming. Trouble was in the air from day one. She didn't just take the role, she straight up disrespected the legacy. By 2022, while Snow White was already limping behind the scenes thanks to COVID delays and a fiery set disaster that torched millions, Rachel Zegler was out here making it worse. Most stars would have played it safe, smiled for the cameras, and tried to save face, but not her. Nope, Zegler went off script and full savage. Instead of hyping the remake, she took shots at the original 1937 film, the same one that put Disney on the map.
These big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should want to be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword.
It's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
They have been making this film for a very long time because it's just been so scandalized. And so they had to basically put it on ice after people were first off firstly outraged by Rachel Zegler speaking ill about the prior film, the film that she was remaking. And it's such a weird thing for their whole pitch as feminists to be is like the best thing you can strive to be as a man. Everything will be great once we just act exactly like men. There's nothing special about being a woman. Let's just be men. It just doesn't feel like we're winning.
So no Prince or a different kind of Prince?
I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you?
Oh my God.
Are you Disney? I've read your book, and I have. It's a phenomenal book. You're losing generation of loyal viewers. When you think about Snow White, what is the premise? What is the story?
It's a love story. It's a love story.
It's a dream for a girl to grow up and a man falls in love.
I'm really upset that it's the biggest theme here is that it's anti-men. She called him a stalker.
She slammed it for being anti-men and even called the prince a stalker. Yeah, she really said that. Fans weren't just annoyed, they were outraged. Comments flooded in like, who does she think she is trashing a childhood classic? And it didn't stop there. Zegler doubled down in interviews, proudly saying this new version had no love story because it was all about that independent woman storyline now. Girl boss energy or not, fans weren't having it. This wasn't the feminist flex they signed up for. They wanted timeless fairy tale magic, not a preachy reboot. Her attitude oozed entitlement, like she was too cool for the very story that gave her the spotlight in the first place. Meanwhile, Disney's PR team had to be losing sleep. The hashtag #, not my Snow White exploded overnight, and just like that, a feel-good fantasy became a front-page fiasco. One loudmouth moment flipped the whole game for the dwarfs. Literally, out of nowhere, Game of Thrones star Peter Dinklage hopped on a podcast and unleashed, "Why is Disney still doing this backwards dwarf stuff?" he snapped. And just like that, the studio panicked. Overnight, the classic 7 dwarfs were gone. Poof, replaced with CGI magical creatures. And of course, Rachel Zegler couldn't help herself. She just had to jump into the drama. She hopped online acting like she single-handedly saved the world from stereotypes. All proud, all performative. Like, girl, calm down. But behind the scenes, actual little person actors were furious. They weren't just mad, they felt robbed. "She's out here preaching while we're out of work," said one comment that went viral. This was supposed to be a moment for representation, and now that spotlight was straight up snatched. Then came the leaked pics. Those so-called magical creatures looked like bargain bin blobs with dollar store lighting.
But she's gone on to talk about this film numerous times, how she once thought Snow White was creepy, she doesn't like the prince, she thinks she should get paid more because she has to wear that dress, she should get paid for streaming, for every hour she has to wear the dress. I mean, talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
Fans clowned them instantly. The memes were brutal. Meanwhile, actors called it a slap in the face, a chance stolen for the sake of fake progress. And where was Zegler? Too busy strutting around like she was rewriting Hollywood's rule book. Her "I know better" attitude only made things worse. This wasn't empowerment, it was chaos. The production was already a wreck. Endless delays, expensive reshoots, money vanishing like fairy dust. Add in this dwarf drama, and the whole fairy tale started to rot from the inside out. And just when you thought it couldn't get any messier, boom! Rachel Zegler opened her mouth again, and this time, it hit another nerve. Instead of hyping the film, she practically rolled her eyes at the idea that people still cared about a prince saving the day. "She's not gonna be saved by a man," she said smugly in an interview, "and she's not gonna dream about true love." That was supposed to be empowering, but fans weren't buying it. They didn't ask for modern day lectures shoved into their fairy tales. They wanted that old school Disney sparkle, not a political speech wrapped in a ball gown. People online were like, if you hate the story so much, why'd you even take the role? By this point, even the casual fans were checking out. Memes, rants, reaction videos, it all exploded. Some were calling for a boycott. Others were roasting Disney for turning something so simple into such a disaster. The marketing team tried to spin it, but the damage was deep. Meanwhile, Zegler kept talking, posting clips, making snarky comments, acting like the backlash was just people not ready for change. But it wasn't about change, it was about respect.
Then they got even crazier and they decided that the dwarves in Snow White weren't woke enough, okay?
These are roles made for actors of my stature. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles because that's not for me.
Right.
And now it's taken away. I don't feel that's right.
Did the dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage, a very talented little person actor, said, why are we doing that? We've hired a Latina actress to be Snow White. That's progressive. But you're going to hire little people to play the dwarfs? That just seems like a step backwards. And then, of course, Disney instantly buckled and said, okay, we're going to add magical creatures.
Respect for a legacy that touched generations. And every time she spoke, it felt like another jab at the heart of the story. Instead of uniting audiences, the remake divided them. What should have been a sweet fairy tale reboot turned into one of Disney's biggest PR nightmares. And it was only getting worse. Her loud mouth turned into Disney's biggest liability. Fast forward to 2024. Snow White was crawling toward its delayed March 2025 release, and Zegler had every chance to just chill and lay low, but nope, she doubled down. Right after the US election, she jumped on Instagram and unleashed another hot mess. Instead of promoting unity or, staying out of it, she came for Trump supporters like a wrecking ball. May you never know peace. She posted, followed by a moody pic holding what looked like burnt coffee with a screw you all attitude. It was full on entitled brat mode, and the internet exploded. One clip in particular caught fire. Conservative commentator Megyn Kelly lost it on air. This rude little punk needs to go, she snapped. Disney, fire her now. The rant went viral, clocking millions of views in hours. And just like that, the boycott train hit full speed. On X, formerly Twitter, fans were swearing off the film like it was cursed. Not a cent from me, one post read. I'll watch the cartoon, this ain't it. So what did Zegler do next? The classic PR move. Fake cry, post a shaky apology, and blame it on her emotions. I got emotional, oops.
What is this process now where it's like in order to be inclusive, you have to completely destroy storylines, completely destroy franchises? I don't believe in that. I don't think that consumers believe in that either.
That was it. No accountability, no real remorse. And guess what? Nobody was buying it. Her apology flopped harder than the trailer. People saw straight through it. At this point, even Disney had to be wondering, how do we put this fire out? By the time 2025 rolled around, the Snow White remake had turned into a full-on corporate nightmare. The movie wasn't just tanking, it was sinking before it even premiered, and insiders were leaking like crazy. Anonymous crew members started spilling the tea, and it wasn't pretty. One source claimed the set was tense every single day. She acted like she was above it all, they said about Zegler. Wouldn't take direction, always complaining, always on her phone. Another insider hinted that reshoots were happening not because of technical problems, but because Disney was trying to salvage her performance. Oof. Meanwhile, execs were reportedly in panic mode behind closed doors. Merch sales were flatlining, test audiences were giving the film brutal feedback, and parents were saying they didn't even want to take their kids to see it. Too much drama, one mom posted. We just want a fun movie, not Hollywood preaching at our kids.
Peter Dinklage, you're rich. We're not. We're trying to be extras, or, we're in Johnny Knoxville's Jackass if we're lucky. And so for them, they're like, you're not gonna cast us to be inclusive and progressive, but these guys at Disney, they're not that bright, they're not that smart, and we see that because they can't come up with any new IP.
To make things worse, leaked footage showed the film looking more like a washed out TikTok filter than a magical fantasy. Fans online said the CGI was laughable. The script sounded like it was written by a Twitter thread, and the vibe totally off. And Zegler, still unbothered. She kept posting artsy selfies, cryptic captions, and barely addressed the controversy, like she was living in her own world while the movie crumbled around her. What was meant to be Disney's next billion-dollar princess film had spiraled into one of their messiest disasters ever, and the lead actress was acting like she didn't even notice the wreckage. One brutal comment online said it all. Her snotty attitude wrecked the movie before it even dropped, and honestly, they weren't wrong. While Disney kept quiet, whispers behind the scenes were growing louder. Word on the street, the studio wanted her gone, but the cameras had already stopped rolling, too late to fix the damage. Rachel Zegler had become a walking PR nightmare, and things were only getting worse. Disney had bet big on this remake. Massive budget, high hopes, star power. But when March 21st, 2025 hit, that gamble backfired hard.
You are not entitled to call for Trump supporters to be harmed. Like, you are actually not entitled to do that. And so let me just remind you, Rachel Zegler, of what the map looks like, just so you can understand when your Disney movie is coming out, how many people you are wishing harm upon. Like, this This is America right now.
Snow White opened with a limp $43 million at the US box office. That might sound decent until you realize the budget was over $200 million. Disney had been counting on a bare minimum of $150 million opening weekend to stay afloat. Instead, they got ghost towns, empty theaters, no excited kids in princess dresses, no packed family showings, just silence. The trailers had already sucked the hype dry. Bland vibes, cheap CGI, and Zegler giving stiff smiles with zero fairy tale charm. Critics didn't hold back either. One called it a woke bore with no soul. Another dragged the CGI dwarves, saying they looked like rejected characters from a glitchy mobile app. Even Gal Gadot, who played the evil queen, couldn't save it. And the fans, they hated it. The story felt hollow, the tone was preachy, and the magic gone. People left theaters saying it didn't even feel like Disney anymore. Meanwhile, unsold merch piled up in stores. Clearance bins were stuffed with untouched dwarf toys collecting dust. What should have been a nostalgic cash cow ended up being a lesson in what happens when ego meets fairy tale and burns it to the ground.
I will love you through these 4 years as best I can. F Donald Trump. Yeah, totally stable thing for her to be posting, wishing harm upon Trump voters, wishing that we have no peace.
At this point, someone needs to say it. These studios have to stop letting their actors run wild. Seriously. Just put a mic ban in the contracts or something. One loose cannon and the whole project goes up in flames. And Hollywood shook. Behind the scenes, the buzz is non-stop. Disney execs are reportedly spiraling. Rumors of internal chaos are spreading like wildfire. People talking layoffs, scrapped remakes, and a total creative reset. One insider spilled, "This project killed the vibe. No one wants to touch another classic right now." The damage is deeper than box office numbers. Once you factor in marketing, sources say the losses could slam past $150 million. That's not just a flop, that's a financial meltdown. And right in the center of it, Rachel Zegler. She's talented, no doubt, admitted one casting agent, but the attitude, the entitlement, she's become a walking red flag. Her woke rants, the diva energy, the smug interviews, Hollywood's not here for it anymore. Directors are quietly backing off, studios are ghosting. No one wants to risk it.
And they postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, told all Trump supporters that they could off, excuse me, but she did. That was just in November. They didn't even know she was going to do that one. Said she hated Snow White, mocked the fact that there was a prince and that she falls in love as opposed to leaning into her own power.
Disney's now pushing Snow White to streaming in hopes of cleaning up the mess. But the internet isn't forgetting. Memes, edits, jokes, it's all there. The stink won't wash off. Zegler's gone from rising star to industry punchline. Now she's got a new title, Rachel Zegler, Fairy Tale Wrecker. What was supposed to be a magical revival ended up a flaming wreck, and the fallout, it's just getting started.
Cry me a river. She's just exactly everything that we can't stand.
And just when you thought Disney had hit rock bottom with Snow White, nope, it kept sinking. The aftermath turned into straight up reputation damage. Other studios started watching Disney flop like a warning sign. Internally, executives were holding emergency meetings. One leak even claimed there was a full-blown what went wrong memo making rounds across departments. Meanwhile, media outlets kept dragging it. Think pieces popped up overnight. Is Hollywood done with princesses? When reboots go rogue. Headlines were savage, and every single one of them dragged Zegler through the mud. Even brand deals started drying up. One company quietly pulled the plug on a campaign that was supposed to launch with her face front and center. Another postponed indefinitely. Fashion houses stopped inviting her to events. Stylists were backing off. It wasn't a soft drop. It was a blacklist by silence.
As you just can't close your mouth. You just can't be sane, even when you do open your mouth. I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film, but rather she deserves to be in a padded cell.
You want to trash that legacy? That company that now Disney has screwed up the last 5 years trying to please a small percentage of minorities in America? Yeah, we're sick of it. So the more you do this, Disney, Iger, Rachel Zegler, whatever her name is, yes, this is exactly the backlash you're going to get from parents who have kids who are your customers. You're supposed to win parents over. You're talking to kids? The parents pay for the tickets. You have to be a dummy as a marketer to be saying, if I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years, and guess what? Pay her a couple $1,000,000, go away. We're going to bring another person to play this role because you just screwed this thing up.
Zegler's social media didn't help either. Instead of showing growth or owning the mess, she kept posting artsy reels, pretending like none of it mattered. One post showed her laughing on set, captioned with a vague quote about standing in your truth. The comments were brutal. People flooded in with clown emojis and "you ruined Disney" replies. Even her diehard defenders were running out of steam. What once looked like bold confidence now read as full-blown delusion. And Disney, now stuck with a fairy tale that's too toxic to touch. The merch won't move, the streaming numbers are stalling before launch, and Rachel Zegler's name is basically radioactive. From dream roll to career freefall, all in one messy, avoidable crash. By the time spring 2025 hit, it wasn't just a flop, it was a full-blown case study in how to ruin a legacy. Industry insiders started calling it the Snow White effect, a warning to every studio about what happens when ego, politics, and poor PR mix. Streaming numbers rolled in, and they were trash. After all the drama, barely anyone bothered to watch. Even with it shoved onto Disney Plus, audiences just didn't care. Parents skipped it, kids weren't asking for it, and the ones who did watch, they clicked off halfway through. Reviews tanked, ratings nosedived, nobody was rewatching, nobody was recommending. Meanwhile, older Disney classics started getting love again. Fans were running back to the originals, posting side-by-side clips exposing just how soulless the remake felt. "This ain't Snow White," one viral TikTok said, showing Zegler's scenes next to the 1937 version. The contrast was brutal.
All these studios have to stop letting their actors loose. I mean, honestly, just shut your actors up.
And Rachel, still silent on the real issue. No ownership, no reflection, just cryptic quotes, moody pics, and ignoring the elephant in the room. Even her agency was rumored to be reassessing her future opportunities. Translation? They're over it too. This wasn't just about one bad movie. It was about the death of trust between studios and their audience. Fans felt mocked, dismissed, unheard, and the price, over $200 million down the drain. A brand's reputation in shambles, and an actress who went from rising star to industry cautionary tale.
Because guess what? Nobody grew up with that crap, and nobody's all that interested in it. It's very good for people to learn that women need men, and also that men need women. I don't know why this fell out of fashion, and we're not allowed to just say that sort of stuff anymore, but it actually happens to be the truth.
Fairy tales are supposed to end with happily ever after, but this ended in wreckage. Disney picked a cocky newcomer who couldn't care less about the original, and it blew up in their face. Rachel Zegler landed the role, then spent months dragging the very story she was supposed to honor. She came off rude, preachy, and straight up entitled, trashing the classic, calling out critics, starting fights online, and pushing fans to their limit. Then the dwarves swapped out for some weird-looking CGI creatures that fans instantly clowned. Rumors even started swirling that she clashed with Gal Gadot behind the scenes. Because of course she did. The drama just wouldn't stop.
It was essentially a box office dud. The regime that decided that wokeness needed to be infused in every movie. If they keep going along this path, they're gonna go bankrupt.
And the result? A brutal $87 million box office haul against a $200+ million budget. That's not a loss. That's a collapse. Rachel's Hollywood glow is fading fast. Disney's looking like amateurs, and fans, they're done. Some were mad over casting, most over her attitude, but all of them agreed. This remake was a total train wreck. Now Disney's licking its wounds, merch is rotting on clearance shelves, and Zegler's become the internet's favorite punchline. Gal's chilling, and Rachel, she's stuck in the hot seat. Can she bounce back? Can Disney recover from this? Or are we finally seeing the crash of the remake era? This ain't a fairy tale ending, it's a loud, messy wake-up call. If you've got thoughts, drop them in the comments. I want to hear what you think about this madness. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that bell so you don't miss tomorrow's deep dive. I'll see you in the next one.